when even those closest to you begin to control you. This is something you need to realize. Your freedom is no longer in your hands. My name is Ryan Matthews. I'm 34 years old and I work in finance. I've worked hard over the years to get to a certain point in my career. Everyone around me would say I was a successful man. But there was one thing in my life that mattered more than my success at work. My family. My mom, dad, and brother have always tried to shape my life. I got married 6 years ago, and if I hadn't met Mia, I still wouldn't have gotten anywhere on my own. But unfortunately, the people who questioned this marriage the most in those days were my own family. It all started at a dinner party. Mia and I went to my parents' house and my mom, dad, and little brother were there. At these family gatherings, I always felt like I was in front of an invisible jury, as if my every word, every look, every behavior was being noted and then silently judged. Mom made her classic opening a few minutes after we sat down at the table. "Ryan, doesn't it upset you that your wife is alone when things are so busy?" Her voice was soft, but there was an accusation lurking underneath. That sentence never sounded like a mere concern to me. There was always an implication, a direction, even a reproach. Before I could open my mouth, my father added, "How can you keep your marriage healthy with such a fast pace of work? Mia is very patient, but you should give her more time." At first I thought they meant well. But as time passed, I realized that their words were more than just concern. My family was consciously or unconsciously putting pressure on my marriage. According to them, Mia was always the victim, and I was a wife who was not aware of my responsibilities. From that day on, these comments became more frequent. Whenever we got together, they would somehow bring up how I was treating Mia, whether I was caring enough for her. And Mia would remain silent in these conversations, averting her eyes. That silence set the stage for my mother's words, as if to say, "Look, she doesn't say anything, but there's something inside her." One evening, my father called me privately. "Ryan, it's not right for you to get lost in all this workload," he said. "You need to take another look at your relationship with Mia. Maybe there are things you don't realize. She may be smiling, but inside she's bleeding. I will come back to this, I warn you," he said and hung up. I couldn't stop thinking for hours after he hung up the phone. Something inside me was broken. Because this had gone from a simple family concern to an intervention that was quietly trying to take over my life. My family only saw me through their lens. They didn't want the real me. They wanted the ideal wife and son profile they approved of. And worst of all, I realized that I hadn't been making my own decisions for a long time. Every time Mia and I argued, every time we tried to work things out, there was always a voice inside me asking, "What would my mother say?" It wasn't my voice. It was a shadow that had settled inside me for years. I finally realized that I had to get rid of these manipulations, that suffocating feeling that I couldn't name for years. It turned out to be just invisible networks that my family had set up. Every kind word, every "we want to support you," it was all a finely woven control mechanism. Every problem I had with Mia, I would get stuck in my family's thoughts. One morning, as soon as I woke up, a single sentence echoed inside me. "I feel like this life is no longer just mine." I decided then and there that I had to put a stop to this system, or first my marriage would fall apart and then me. The first step, I had to have an honest and vulnerable conversation with Mia. That evening we sat in the kitchen. I looked her in the eye and said the sentence I had been holding inside for years. "Sometimes I feel like I'm not living with you, but with an imaginary version of my family with you." Mia was silent. Then she took a deep breath and said, "I feel like you're always trying to get their approval, like there's always a third eye between us." That sentence was the slap that shook me. I could no longer postpone anything. Step 2, talk to my parents. but I had to do it in a way that would set boundaries, not rub it in their faces. So I started to prepare. I took notes of old messages, words they said, conversations during visits. It wasn't going to be just a conversation, it was a confrontation. And I wasn't alone this time. The uncertainties in my head were replaced by clarity. It was like the day of the meeting. My mother was smiling as always, but there was a look of, what should I fix this time, waiting behind her eyes. My father was leaning back in his chair, ready to talk. My brother was silently watching us. I began by saying, I am talking to you today to regain control of my life. There was a short silence, then I continued. I know you love me, but love is not direction, not criticism. I am tired of you always telling me what to do. This is my marriage, and the mistakes and the right things should be mine. My father frowned. My mother averted her eyes. Son, we just want you to be good, she said. Being good doesn't mean fitting into your mold, I said. I love Mia, and I should try to understand everything that happens between me and her first, not you. These words spread through the house like a cold wave. But for the first time I felt relieved, because this silence was the silence of awareness, not obedience. I had drawn a boundary for them, and this boundary was the first wall that saved me. From that day on, Mia and I began to have a healthier relationship. Our conversations were no longer secretly defensive, because the third voice, my family's endless comments, was no longer in our lives. We started to laugh more, listen more, and most importantly, we started to really be together. My communication with my family also changed completely. The boundaries I clearly set for them caused some shocks in our relationship at first, but over time these boundaries turned into respect. Now they recognize me for my own decisions and don't interfere with my choices. The advice that used to rain down on me at every meeting has been replaced by simple curiosity and listening, but it was not easy. There were moments when I felt alone in this process. I felt confused and regretful, but when I look back, I realized that at the end of all these storms, I really started to live my own life. And now I want to say something to you too. Sometimes our loved ones can mislead us. Even if they mean well, they can lead us away from our own lives. But remember, you have to live your own way, not someone else's dream. True freedom is being able to make your own decisions, to draw your own boundaries, and to make your own voice heard. And perhaps most importantly, to be brave. If you've been through something similar or are dealing with family pressures you can't get out of, leave a comment in the comments. Maybe your story will be a light for someone else. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss such true stories, because sometimes a video can be powerful enough to change your life.